Captain Lisa Morgan sat at her desk aboard the Earth diplomatic vessel Curiosity. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her blue uniform was perfectly pressed. She looked over the day's schedule on her tablet. Today was supposed to be easy. Just a normal meeting with Ambassador Zixtrel from the Galactic Confederation. Just stick to the talking points, she told herself. Trade agreements, cultural exchange programs, and the new space lane regulations. Lisa had been captain of the Curiosity for 3 years. Her ship wasn't the biggest or most powerful in Earth's fleet, but it was perfect for diplomatic missions. It had comfortable meeting rooms, excellent translation systems, and enough defensive capabilities to make everyone feel safe without seeming threatening. The ship's communication system beeped. Captain Ambassador Zixtrel has arrived at Docking Bay 3, said the voice of Communications Officer Alan Pierce. Thank you, Alan. Please have Security Chief Rivera escort our guest to the main conference room. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Lisa stood up, straightened her uniform, and took a deep breath. Meetings with Zixtrel were usually pleasant. The Tralaxian diplomat was curious, friendly, and seemed to genuinely like humans. This made him a valuable ally in the often complex world of galactic politics. When Lisa entered the conference room, Zixtrel was already seated. The Tralaxian was about the size of a human but had light purple skin, 6 eyes arranged in a circle on his face, and 4 arms. He wore the flowing silver robes that marked his high status. Ambassador, welcome back. To the Curiosity, Lisa said with a warm smile. She had learned not to offer a handshake. Tralaxians considered touching hands to be quite personal. Captain Morgan, always a pleasure, Zixtrel replied. His voice came through the translator with a slight musical quality. Your ship continues to be a model of human efficiency and comfort. Lisa sat down across from him. Thank you. We've prepared some refreshments suitable for Tralaxian biology. Would you care for some tea? Most kind, but I've already consumed my midday nutrients. All 6 of his eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of contentment in Tralaxian. Body language. They spent the next hour discussing routine matters, trade routes between Earth colonies and Tralaxian worlds were running smoothly. A cultural exchange program was sending human artists to Tralax Prime next month. The new regulations for traffic in the Orion arm space lanes needed some minor adjustments. Lisa was just about to wrap up the meeting when Zixtrel tilted his head, a gesture Lisa had learned meant he was about to ask something he considered important. Captain, there is one matter of personal curiosity I hope to discuss, he said. Of course, Ambassador. What would you like to know? Zixtrel's eyes blinked in a pattern Lisa didn't recognize. In my preparation for our meeting, I was reviewing some Confederation classification documents. I noticed humans are listed as a cautionary species. This seems strange for people who have been such peaceful members of the galactic community. Lisa felt a cold knot form in her stomach. She kept her face neutral, but her mind raced. Protocol Section 47B specifically marked this topic as "Do not discuss." Classifications can be based on many factors, Lisa said carefully. Historical, biological potential rather than actual behavior. It's really just bureaucratic paperwork. But Zixtrel wasn't satisfied. But why exactly are humans classified as cautionary? Your kind seems physically unimpressive compared to many other species. You're not particularly strong like the Dravidi, or naturally armored like the Vex, or able to survive in vacuum like the Melosians. Lisa tried to deflect with humor. Trust me, Ambassador, it's better for everyone if we don't get into that. How about we discuss the new cultural center being built on Mars instead? But Ambassador Zixtrel, with all 6 eyes now blinking in sequence, a sign of confusion, persisted. The Confederation prides itself on transparency, Captain. Surely. There must be documentation I can access? As a level 7 diplomat, I believe I have clearance for most classification rationales, Lisa sighed. She had hoped to avoid this. There's documentation, Ambassador, but it requires special clearance, and a psych evaluation afterward. I'm not exaggerating when I say that most non-humans find the information ... disturbing. Across the room, Communications Officer Alan Pierce was listening to the conversation while pretending to take notes. His fingers quietly tapped out the emergency code to Earth Command. Protocol 47B, breach imminent. Zixtrol's upper arms made a graceful gesture that indicated respect. I appreciate your concern, Captain, but I assure you I can handle whatever information exists. My people value knowledge above comfort. Ambassador, I strongly advise against pursuing this. Not because we're hiding anything wrong or illegal, but because this particular knowledge has historically caused reactions that damage diplomatic relations. Now I am even more curious, Zixtrol said, all 6 eyes focused intently on Lisa. I give you my word that I will not allow any information to negatively impact our species' friendship. Before Lisa could respond, her communication device buzzed. It was a message from Earth Command. Stall if possible. If not, standard diplomatic warning applies. Ambassador's clearance confirmed. Lisa looked at Zixtrol and saw the determination in his posture. She knew from experience that Tralaxian curiosity, once fully engaged, was nearly impossible to redirect. Very well, Ambassador. I'll have Officer Pierce send the formal request to the Confederation Central Database. You'll need to use your personal authentication codes to access the files labeled Human Species, Full Threat Assessment, but I must include our standard warning. Which is? Zixtrol asked. The contents of these files have caused 94% of non-human viewers to implement increased security protocols when dealing with humans. 62% temporarily suspended diplomatic relations until additional context could be provided. And on 3 separate occasions, it led to species requesting buffer zones between their territory and human space. Zixtrol's eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of excitement rather than concern. How fascinating. Now I absolutely must know. 3 days later, the Confederation's central database processed an unprecedented information request access to the sealed files, labeled Human Species, Full Threat Assessment. The request was automatically approved due to the ambassador's clearance level within hours. Lisa received a frantic call from Earth Command. Admiral Grace Williams appeared on her screen, looking tired and annoyed. The files have been accessed? Grace said without greeting. We're registering alarm signals from over 900 Confederation ships throughout the galaxy. They're going to combat readiness, adjusting patrol routes to avoid human settlements, and requesting emergency guidance from their home governments. Lisa closed her eyes briefly. So it begins again. Containment protocol is being implemented. Grace continued. Prepare for extended diplomatic duty, Captain. Your ship is about to become very important. Yes, Admiral. What should I tell Ambassador Zixtrol? He hasn't emerged from his quarters since accessing the files. Tell him exactly what we tell everyone who asks that question, Grace said grimly. Next time, believe us when we say some questions are better left unasked. The Confederation battlecruiser Invincible Light moved slowly through space near the Orion Arm. It was a massive ship, almost 3 times the size of any human vessel. Its hull was painted deep blue with silver markings showing its many battle honors. Captain Drelvok sat in his command chair on the bridge. He was a Zentari, a species known for their calm and logical approach to problems. He had 4 arms, gray skin, and a ridge of small horns running from his forehead to the back of his neck. His uniform was black with gold trim marking his high rank. Status report, he said to his crew. All systems normal, Captain, replied his second-in-command, Commander Kell. We are on schedule for our patrol of the outer colonies. Drelvok nodded. This was a routine mission: show the flag, check on the smaller worlds in this sector, and make sure pirate ships stayed away from trade routes. His ship had been doing this same patrol for 3 years without any serious problems. Captain, we're receiving a data packet from Central Command, said the communications officer. Priority level Alpha. This was unusual. Alpha priority was reserved for war updates or serious security threats. Send it to my private terminal, Drelvok. Ordered. The data packet was large and marked Human Species, Full Threat Assessment. Drelvok was puzzled. Humans had been part of the Confederation for over 70 years. They were known to be good traders, reliable allies, and generally peaceful. Why would Central Command send him a threat assessment now? He opened the file and began reading. The first section was basic biology, much of which he already knew. Humans came from a high-gravity world called Earth. They were oxygen breathers with an internal skeleton and reddish blood. They had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a single head with 2 eyes, but as he continued reading, Drelvok began to feel uneasy. The file contained video footage labeled Human Physical Capabilities. He watched with growing concern. The first video showed a human female named Dr. Helen Rodriguez. She was described as a biologist specializing in cellular regeneration. She was in what appeared to be a gym, talking casually about her research while lifting weights. The caption noted she was lifting 300 kilograms in Earth gravity, nearly 4 times her own body weight, and doing so as a recreational activity, not as her main profession. The next video showed humans running in something called an ultramarathon, a race over extremely rough terrain that lasted for days. The humans kept going without stopping to sleep, eating and drinking while moving. The file noted that most Confederation species would collapse from exhaustion after just a few hours of such activity. 3 hours later, Commander Kell came looking for Captain Drelvok. He hadn't returned to the bridge, which was unlike him. Kell found the captain still at his terminal, staring at the screen. His normally gray skin had taken on a pale, almost white color, a sign of extreme stress in Zentari. "Captain?" Kell asked cautiously. "Is everything all right?" Drelvok looked up. Slowly. Have we ever scanned human ships for weapons?" "Of course, sir. Standard procedure for all Confederation vessels." "No, I mean really scan them. Deep scans, looking for hidden compartments, biological augmentations, implanted weapons?" Kell looked confused. "No, sir. That would violate at least 3 diplomatic protocols. Humans have never given us reason to be suspicious." Drelvok turned his screen so Kell could see it. It showed footage of a human emergency response team lifting a crashed ground vehicle to free a trapped victim. 4 humans were lifting a machine that weighed over 2 tons. "They don't need weapons," Drelvok said quietly. "They are the weapons." He pressed a button on his console. "All hands, battle stations, raise shields to maximum power. Charge all weapon systems." Kell stared at his captain in shock. "Sir?" "We're nowhere near any known threats. The closest ships are human traders 3 light years away." "Exactly," Drelvok whispered. "This is just their scientist," he said, pointing to the image of Dr. Rodriguez. "Just watch the military footage." On Earth, in a large office building, in the city of Geneva, Defense Secretary Nathan Wright was having a very bad day. The large screen on his wall showed a map of the galaxy with hundreds of blinking red dots. Each dot was a Confederation ship that had suddenly changed course or gone to high alert status. "How many ships are we tracking?" Nathan asked his aide, a young woman named Karen Liu. 937 vessels, sir, and the number is still growing," Karen replied. "We're getting distress signals from every human embassy and trade post in Confederation. Space. Ships are breaking from their assigned routes and maintaining what they're calling cautious distance from human settlements." Nathan ran a hand through his short gray hair. "How bad is the panic? Are they attacking any of our people?" "No, sir. It seems mostly defensive rather than aggressive. They're afraid, but not attacking. Some ships are actively running away from human vessels." "Small mercies," Nathan sighed. "Get me Ambassador Carolyn Young. We need damage control before this escalates further." Meanwhile, far from Earth on the frontier colony world Proxima Centauri II, mining engineer Doug Hoffman was confused. The small colony had just 300 human residents who worked the rich mineral deposits on this rocky planet. Every month, a Zalaxian trading ship brought supplies from the main human worlds. Today, the ship had arrived on schedule, but something was different. Instead of the usual Zalaxian crew unloading the supplies, they had sent remote-controlled robots. A message appeared on Doug's communication device. "Please remain visible at all times during the unloading process. Do not approach the robots." "What's gotten into them?" Doug asked his assistant, a woman named Olivia Garcia. We've been trading with Captain Zorax for 3 years. He usually shares a meal with us. Olivia checked her own device, which was connected to the colony's communication network. I'm seeing reports from all over. Confederation ships are acting strangely around all human settlements. Word is someone important finally saw the files. The files? You mean the old threat assessment from when humans first joined the Confederation? Doug asked. Olivia nodded. My cousin works in diplomatic corps. She says this happens every few decades when some high-ranking alien gets curious about why humans are classified as dangerous. They dig up the old files, panic spreads, and then everyone remembers we've been peaceful members of the community for over 70 years. Doug watched as the robots carefully unloaded food, medicine, and mining equipment. So what do we do? Wait it out, Olivia said with a shrug. Earth will send out the diplomatic teams. They'll give the same speeches about peaceful cooperation and show the same evidence of our good behavior. The panic will die down in a few weeks. And until then, we smile, wave, and try not to make any sudden movements around our nervous neighbors. Back on the Curiosity, Captain Lisa Morgan received a priority communication from Earth Command. Admiral Grace Williams' face appeared on the screen. Captain, the situation is developing as expected, Grace said. The files have caused widespread concern. We're implementing the containment protocol. Yes, Admiral, Lisa replied. What's my ship's role? Ambassador Zixtrel has requested asylum. Says he can't face his superiors after triggering what they're calling the Great Caution. You'll be transporting him to Earth for the diplomatic response team to handle, Lisa nodded. And the 900 worried ships? Grace's expression was grim. That number has grown to 937. We're tracking them all. So far, it's just panic, not aggression. Let's keep it that way. Understood, Admiral. We'll depart for Earth immediately. As Lisa ended the call, she looked out the viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, hundreds of ships were on high alert because they had learned what humans were capable of. Not what humans had done. They had been peaceful members of the Confederation, but what they could do if pushed. Here we go again, she said softly to herself. This is why we have protocols, said Admiral Grace Williams, looking at the 12 people seated around the large oval table. Her voice was firm but tired. She had not slept much in the last 2 days. The room was deep inside Earth Command, a massive building in Geneva. The walls were plain white with no windows. A large screen on one wall showed a map of the galaxy with many blinking red dots. Each dot was a Confederation ship that was still on high alert. Now we have nearly 1,000 Confederation ships in panic mode, and the Galactic Council is demanding explanations, Grace continued. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and the serious expression of someone who had seen many crises come and go. These 12 humans made up the Human Diplomatic Containment Team. Their job was to prevent small misunderstandings from becoming interstellar incidents. Today, they were facing one of the biggest challenges of their careers. George Winters, the team's intelligence liaison, spoke first. The ambassador who started this is requesting asylum. Says he can't face his superiors after triggering what they're calling the Great Caution. Where is he now? Grace asked. Aboard the Curiosity. Captain Morgan is bringing him to Earth. They should arrive tomorrow, George replied. Lieutenant Frank Daniels, the team's xenopsychologist, studied his tablet. He was younger than most people in the room, with dark skin and thoughtful eyes. His job was to understand how non-human species thought and felt. Based on previous incidents like this, we're in phase 2 of panic, Frank explained. The initial shock has worn off, and now they're trying to make sense of what they've learned. What's their biggest fear this time? Asked Grace. The endurance factor, Frank replied. The footage of ultramarathon champion Eric Monroe running for 24 hours straight has them particularly disturbed. Several species can match our sprint speeds. But the concept of persistence hunting is triggering deep prey instincts in many Confederation species. Dr. Susan Palmer, the team's media specialist, looked up from her console. And someone leaked a historical documentary on the old Earth warrior again. The one who fought in World War II with a sword and longbow? Grace closed her eyes briefly. Of course they did. I've drafted a formal statement emphasizing our peaceful intentions, said Diplomatic Officer Peter Scott. He was a slim man with glasses and a calm manner. And highlighting that we've maintained the non-aggression pact for 73 years without incident. It won't be enough, Grace said. Not when they've seen the files? Prepare the demonstration protocol. The team exchanged glances. The demonstration protocol was rarely used. It was a series of carefully planned displays designed to reassure nervous species that humans could be both dangerous and restrained. And somebody get me Captain Morgan on the line, Grace added. Her ship is about to become very important. On the Curiosity, Lisa Morgan was trying to convince Ambassador Zixtrel to leave his quarters. The Tralaxian diplomat had locked himself in 3 days ago after viewing the human assessment files. Ambassador, please. We need to talk about this, Lisa said through the door's communication system. I am not prepared to face you yet, Captain, came the reply. Zixtrel's voice sounded shaky. I need more time to process what I have learned. We're approaching Earth orbit. Admiral Williams wants to meet with you. There was a long pause. Will there be many humans at this meeting? Lisa tried not to sigh. Just the diplomatic team. They're used to helping people who have seen the files. Another pause. Very well. But I request that all humans maintain a distance of at least 3 meters from me at all times. Agreed, Lisa said. This was a common request after non-humans viewed the files. Will arrive in 6 hours. Please be ready. In another part of the galaxy, Captain Drelvok of the Invincible Light was showing the human assessment files to his senior officers. They sat around a large table, watching footage of human physical capabilities with growing concern. This footage shows a human child surviving a fall that would kill an adult of our species, Drelvok explained. The screen showed a small human falling from a considerable height, being injured, but then recovering in a hospital. And this, he continued, changing the display, shows a human continuing to function after losing nearly 40% of their blood. Volume, Commander Kell looked troubled. But Captain, humans have been part of the Confederation for decades. They've never shown aggression toward other species. That's what makes them more concerning, Drelvok replied. They have this potential for violence and survival, yet they choose peace. What happens if they change their minds? On the frontier colony Proxima Centauri 2, Doug Hoffman received a message from Earth Command. All human colonies were being instructed to participate in what was called Operation Reassurance. What does that mean for us? Olivia Garcia asked as they read the message together. It means we need to send a personal message to Captain Zorax and his crew, Doug explained. We're supposed to show them our daily lives, explain our work, and emphasize our commitment to peaceful cooperation. Will that really help? Olivia wondered. The message says this approach has worked before. Apparently. What scares most species about us isn't just our physical capabilities. It's that they don't understand why we choose not to use them for conquest. Doug thought for a moment. Let's record a tour of the colony. Show them our homes? The school for the children, our gardens? Things that show we're building lives here, not a military base. In the Galactic Council's Great Chamber, representatives from hundreds of species were gathering for an emergency session. The vast room had seats for every member of the Confederation, arranged in rising tiers around a central speaking platform, the Council's Grand Arbiter, a floating crystalline entity called the Session to Order. We have convened to address the matter of human classification and the recent access of their threat assessment files, the Arbiter announced. Its voice was translated into hundreds of languages simultaneously. The human delegation will be permitted to address the Council, the Arbiter continued. However, many representatives have requested security measures. Around the chamber, several species nodded in agreement. Safety barriers rose from the floor, creating a clear space around the area where the humans would stand. Ambassador Carolyn Young led the human delegation into the chamber. She was a tall woman with dark skin and silver hair, wearing the formal blue and gold uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. 4 other humans walked with her, all moving slowly and deliberately. As they entered, a ripple of nervous movement passed through the assembled representatives. Some shifted away, while others leaned forward with curiosity. "Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council," Carolyn began, her voice calm and measured. "We understand your concerns following the unauthorized access of classified human assessment files. Let me assure you that Earth remains committed to peace." Back on the Curiosity, now orbiting Earth, Captain Lisa Morgan received new orders from Admiral Williams. She was to prepare her ship for the next phase of the demonstration protocol. "Are you sure this is necessary?" Lisa asked. "It seems like an extreme response. We have over 900 worried ships out there," Admiral Williams replied. "Some are calling for humans to be contained to our home systems. We need to show them that we understand their fear, but also that we can be trusted." Lisa nodded. "I'll brief Lieutenant Ruby Martinez. She's our best EVA specialist." "Good," said the Admiral. "Remember, this isn't just about showing them what we can do. It's about showing them what we choose not to do." As Lisa ended the call, she looked out at Earth below, beautiful and blue. Somewhere up there, Ambassador Zixtrol was probably explaining to the diplomatic containment team why he had ignored warnings and accessed the files. Lisa hoped the demonstration protocol would work. It had before, but each time it seemed harder. To convince the galaxy that humans could be both dangerous and peaceful at the same time. The Galactic Council's emergency session was in its second hour. The large chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of different species. Many were still nervous, sitting far back in their seats whenever Ambassador Carolyn Young or any of the human delegation moved. "Distinguished representatives," Carolyn continued, standing calmly at the center of the chamber. "We understand that the human assessment files contain information that may seem alarming, but I ask you to consider our actions, not just our capabilities." A representative from the Dravidi, a large reptilian species, stood up. "Is it true your soldiers can continue fighting with multiple injuries that would incapacitate most species?" "Some humans can function despite serious injuries, yes," Carolyn admitted. "This evolved on our world where survival often depended on it. But we have used this ability in Confederation space only to save lives, never to take them." Another representative, a small floating creature made mostly of gas, pulsed with blue light as it spoke. "We have footage of a human child surviving a fall that would kill an adult Dravidi." "Our bone structure and healing abilities," Carolyn began. "Your pain tolerance alone classifies you as a potential biological weapon," interrupted a thin, tall being with 4 arms. Carolyn raised her hands. "These capabilities evolved on our high-gravity, climatically diverse world with numerous predators. They helped us survive, not conquer." The Council's Grand Arbiter, the floating crystalline entity, chimed softly to restore order. Its voice was calm and had no emotion. "The concern, Ambassador, is not your past but your potential." The classified files include projections of human military capacity if fully mobilized. Projections that assume the worst," Carolyn countered. "Reality has proven different. Since joining the Confederation, we have participated in 17 peacekeeping missions and 0 aggressive actions. Across the galaxy, Captain Lisa Morgan of the Curiosity was ready to implement her part of the demonstration protocol. Her ship was now surrounded by 30 nervous Confederation vessels. All of them had their weapon systems active and locked on the Curiosity. "Are you sure about this, Captain?" asked Communications Officer Alan Pierce. He looked worried as he watched the scanner showing all the ships targeting them. "These are our orders," Lisa replied. "Lieutenant Martinez, are you ready?" On the video screen, Lieutenant Ruby Martinez nodded. She was a small woman with determined eyes, already dressed in a standard EVA suit, the kind humans used for spacewalking. The suit was white with the blue Earth symbol on the shoulder. "Yes, Captain. Airlock is prepared and I've reviewed the construction plans." "Remember slow and deliberate movements," Lisa instructed. "They need to see everything clearly." Lisa turned to the main communications console. This is Captain Morgan of the Earth diplomatic vessel Curiosity to all surrounding ships. We will now begin the demonstration as approved by the Galactic Council. Please maintain your positions." She nodded to Officer Pierce, who opened the ship-wide communication channel. "Begin the demonstration." The outer airlock door of the Curiosity opened. Lieutenant Ruby Martinez pushed off gently and floated out into the vacuum of space. She carried a large container of construction materials. The surrounding alien ships watched as the lone human began working in the emptiness of space. Ruby moved carefully, taking components from her container and assembling them piece by piece. "What is the human doing?" asked Captain Drelvok from the bridge of the Invincible Light, one of the ships watching the demonstration. "It appears to be constructing something," replied Commander Kell, "without any assistance or special equipment beyond the basic life support suit." "Magnify the image," ordered Drelvok. The screen showed Lieutenant Martinez working steadily. Her movements were precise and efficient. The structure she was building began to take shape, a delicate framework of metal and composite materials. "The human has been working for over 2 hours without a break," noted one of the bridge officers. "In temperatures that would freeze most species solid if their protection failed, and in radiation that would kill unprotected life forms in minutes," added another officer. Drelvok watched in silence. The human continued working, demonstrating both the endurance and technical skill that had alarmed so many Confederation species back at the Galactic Council session. Ambassador Carolyn Young received a message that the demonstration protocol had begun. She nodded slightly to her team, then turned back to address the Council. "Many of you fear what humans might do if we chose violence," she said. "That is understandable. But I ask you to consider this: the same qualities that make us potentially dangerous also make us valuable allies." She touched a control on her wrist, and the large screens around the council chamber changed to show Lieutenant Martinez working in space. At this moment, a human is performing a demonstration near Earth, working alone in vacuum, using only basic tools and protection. The same endurance, strength, and determination that concern you are being used to create, not destroy. The Council representatives watched the screens with mixed reactions. Some still showed fear, others showed growing curiosity. "What is the human building?" asked the Grand Arbiter. "A memorial," Carolyn replied. "A tribute to the first contact between humans and the Confederation 73 years ago. A gesture of friendship, built with the same capabilities that caused such fear. On the frontier colony Proxima Centauri II, Doug Hoffman and Olivia Garcia were recording their message for the Zalaxian trading crew. They walked through the small colony, showing the camera their homes, workshops, and the community garden. "This is where we grow fresh vegetables," Olivia explained to the camera as they passed rows of plants in special greenhouse domes. "The soil here isn't naturally good for earth plants, so we had to work hard to make things grow." Doug pointed to a small playground where a few children were playing. "We built this for the children. There are 15 kids in the colony now, all born here on Proxima Centauri II. They've never even seen Earth." They continued their tour, showing the mining equipment they used, carefully explaining that it was only for extracting minerals, not for weapons. "The most important thing we want you to understand," Doug said, looking directly at the camera, "is that we came here to build, not to conquer. We value the trading relationship we have with your crew, Captain Zorax." Olivia added, "We could hurt you, that's what the files showed you, right? But we choose not to. Not because of orders or treaties, but because we genuinely value what we're building together in this part of the galaxy." At Earth Command, Admiral Grace Williams watched the status board as reports came in from across the galaxy. The human diplomatic containment team was gathered around her, monitoring the situation. "Ambassador Young's address to the Council is proceeding well," said Peter Scott. "They're showing the expected mix of fear and curiosity." Lieutenant Frank Daniels studied the incoming data on his tablet. "The psychological impact of the demonstration protocol is positive so far. Showing them that our abilities can be used for creation rather than destruction is having the desired effect." "What about the colony messages?" Grace asked. "Proxima Centauri 2 has already sent theirs, Dr. Susan Palmer reported. Early response from the Zalaxian trading crew is cautiously positive. They've requested permission to resume in-person deliveries. Grace nodded. And the worried ships? George Winters checked his console. 8 ships have stood down from high alert. It's a start. Keep monitoring, Grace ordered. This is going to be a long process. One by one, the Confederation vessels surrounding human settlements began powering down their weapon systems. The change didn't happen all at once, but slowly, like ice melting in the sun. What made the difference wasn't the grand speeches at the Galactic Council or the formal diplomatic statements. It was the thousands of messages sent from individual humans to their alien counterparts. Captain Drelvok of the Invincible Light sat in his private quarters, watching a recording on his screen. The message had come directly from a human colony. Leader named Olivia Garcia on Proxima Centauri 2, it showed her walking through a small settlement, pointing out homes, gardens, and a school. "This is my daughter Sophia," Olivia said in the recording as the camera showed a small human child. "Drawing pictures? She's learning about Confederation species in school. Here's her drawing of a Centauri like you, Captain Drelvok." The child held up a colorful but simple drawing of a 4-armed figure with a ridge of horns on its head. The drawing wasn't perfect, but it showed care and attention. "She's never met a Centauri," Olivia continued, "but she knows your people are famous for your music and your starship designs. She hopes to visit your homeworld someday." The message went on to show more of the colony's daily life. Then at the end, Olivia looked directly at the camera. "We could hurt you," she said simply. "That's what the files showed you. But we choose not to. Not because we're following orders or treaties, but because we genuinely value what we're building together." That's the part of the files most people miss. Our capacity for restraint is as remarkable as our capacity for survival. Drelvok sat quietly for a long time after the message ended. Then he called his executive officer. "Commander Kell, power down all weapon systems and set shields to standard cruising levels," he ordered. "Sir?" Kell sounded surprised. "We're standing down from alert status. The humans are not a threat to us." "May I ask what changed your mind, Captain?" Drelvok thought about the child's drawing. "I realized we've been looking at only half the picture. Similar messages reached the other ships?" That had reacted to the human assessment files. Each message was different, personal, and honest. A scientist on Mars sent pictures of his research on plant growth that could help feed worlds with poor soil. A teacher in the Luna colony showed her classroom where students learned about all Confederation cultures. A doctor from the asteroid mining station shared medical techniques humans had developed that could help other species. At Earth Command, Admiral Grace Williams watched the status board as ship after ship changed from yellow alert to green. "It's working," George Winters confirmed, checking the data on his console. "Panic levels are decreasing across all sectors." Lieutenant Frank Daniels studied the incoming reports. The psychological component was the key. They needed to see that. "Our adaptability applies to peace as much as survival." "What about Lieutenant Martinez's demonstration?" Grace asked. "Completed successfully," Dr. Susan Palmer replied. "She worked in vacuum for nearly 5 hours to finish the memorial structure. The observing ships were particularly impressed by her endurance and precision." "And Ambassador Young at the Council?" "The emergency session has concluded," Peter Scott reported. "The Council has made an unexpected decision. The classified human assessment will be unsealed and made available to all Confederation species." Grace looked alarmed. That could cause more panic, not less. "They're pairing it with a newly created companion document," Peter explained. "Human integration, 73 years of peaceful cooperation. It puts our capabilities in context with our actual behavior." On the frontier colony Proxima Centauri 2, Doug Hoffman was surprised to see the Zalaxian delivery crew in person for the next supply shipment. After weeks of dealing only with remote drones, Captain Zorax and 3 of his crew members had come themselves. "Thought you folks were avoiding us these days," Doug said as he greeted them at the landing pad. Captain Zorax was a tall, Thin alien with blue-green skin and large eyes? His translator crackled as he replied, "We were recalibrating our understanding," Zorak said. "Your ambassador explained that humans developed your concerning traits because your world tried to kill you constantly, not because you wanted to kill others." "This makes sense to us now," Doug laughed. "That's one way of putting it." "We watched the message from Olivia Garcia," Zorax continued. "The child's drawing of a Zentari was ... unexpected. It showed interest in other species, not fear." "That's Sophia," Doug nodded. "She's fascinated by all the Confederation species. Wants to visit as many worlds as she can when she grows up." "This would be welcome," Zorak said. "We have brought extra supplies this time, and ... He hesitated, then held out a small package. "A gift for the child. It is a Laxian learning tool to help her understand our mathematics." Doug accepted the gift with a smile. "She'll love it. Would you and your crew like to stay for a meal? Olivia's making pizza." "Pizza?" Zorax's large eyes blinked rapidly. "It's a human food. Don't worry, we've checked the chemical composition. It's safe for Zalaxians." After a moment of consideration, Zorax nodded. "We would be honored." Aboard the Curiosity, Captain Lisa Morgan received new orders from Admiral Williams. The ship would continue its diplomatic mission as planned, with one amendment. Protocol 47B was being revised. "The question will come up again," Lisa said during a briefing with her senior officers. "What do we tell them when they ask why?" "Humans are dangerous?" Communications Officer Alan Pierce thought for a moment, then smiled. "The truth. We tell them it's because we care enough to become dangerous when necessary, and wise enough to know when it's not." In the Galactic Council chamber, most representatives had departed after the emergency session. Ambassador Zixtrel, who had started all the trouble by accessing the human assessment files, approached Ambassador Carolyn Young. "I must apologize for the alarm I caused," Zixtrel said, his 6 eyes blinking in a pattern that showed embarrassment. "I did not anticipate such widespread reaction." "It happens every few decades," Carolyn replied with a gentle smile. "Someone gets curious, accesses the files, and panic spreads. Then everyone remembers we've been peaceful members of the Confederation for generations." "I have been studying your history more deeply," Zixtrel admitted. "Your people fought many terrible wars among yourselves before reaching the stars." "We did," Carolyn nodded. "That's part of why we value peace so highly now. We know exactly what we're capable of, both the good and the bad." "The companion document about your peaceful cooperation is reassuring," Zixtrel said. "Particularly the sections about human medical personnel serving on non-human worlds during crisis situations." "Those are the same traits in a different context," Carolyn explained. "The endurance that frightens people also lets our doctors work for days without rest during emergencies. The adaptability that seems threatening also helps us find solutions to problems other species might miss." As the Curiosity continued its mission, the 900 formerly worried Confederation vessels returned to their regular duties. Their crews now carried a deeper if somewhat nervous respect for their human allies. The question had been asked. The answer had been given. And the galaxy adjusted accordingly. In the vastness of space, Lieutenant Ruby Martinez's memorial structure orbited Earth, visible to all arriving ships. It was a delicate, beautiful creation of metal and light, showing 2 hands, 1 human, 1 alien reaching toward each other in friendship. A small plaque attached to the base carried a simple message: "Built by human hands. Dedicated to all species who choose understanding over fear."